All right, so this is our sports nutrition market deep dive. It's the third one of these we've done. Basically, the idea is that it's a little webinar that we run following on from our kind of industry benchmark reports that we make. We make them across about 50 different industries every year. We produce them on a weekly basis. And the idea behind them is that we share something valuable for the companies that are included. And it's a chance for us to kind of establish contact and potentially start a relationship. It is a full-on marketing effort for us, but the hope is that everybody gets something useful out of the report. What we hope to do with the webinar itself is delve a little bit deep into the data and then pull out some useful kind of marketing examples that you can take home. This who we've got with us today, this very handsome chap on the right here, or very young looking chap anyway, is myself. I'm Michael Robinson. I've been working here for 5 years now. I'm kind of responsible for marketing with the agency. I'm responsible for pushing out all these reports that you might receive on a yearly basis and all the kind of marketing around that. Next off, we've got Lewis here, and I'll allow him to introduce himself.
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Lewis. As you can see, that is also a very young picture of me. And now lockdown has forced me to be a bit more shaggy around the edges. But I've been at Salience for 2 years. I'm the content marketing exec here, and I do more client-side work. So I work with all the clients during our sprint and agile process. Yeah, I suppose that's all you need to know about me. I specialize more in content and links. I can do tech stuff every now and again, but more so content and links, definitely. Hand you over to Liam now.
Yeah, hi guys, I'm Liam. I'm one of the content strategists at Salience, so I've been here 3 to 4 years now. My main role is working kind of with all of our clients and looking at more kind of top level strategies, looking at how we can kind of utilize content to boost rankings and revenue. I suppose the kind of key point of why I'm here today is to give a little bit more of a kind of practical example. So the report does dig into the kind of top level data across the industry. I'm probably here to try and give you guys a small amount of kind of practical advice that you can take away and hopefully start implementing. So we'll get to that in due course.
So I'm going to be kicking off, and I've already talked about why we create insight reports. So I'm going to be kicking off with just giving us some report highlights and kind of give my feedback on what I think of the market at the moment. Universal findings. So this is taken from our visibility year-on-year pages, little screen grab here. The data we take from this is from Search Metrics, and Search Metrics is known for giving a big pillar score of overall indexability and organic visibility for any individual website. So if you were to input your URL, it kind of feeds back one of these scores here, and it's an indication of how large a site is really. It's not an indication of how much money you're making or how much traffic you've got gained or lost year on year. It's really just an indication of how big the website is and how rankable it is. We can't source traffic or revenue information until we kind of get under the hood of the website and access Google Analytics. Overall, the average has grown or has become a bit stagnant in the last year. It's just seen 0.11% growth year on year. 44% of the brands that we've analysed have actually lost out year on year. And only just 5 of the top 10 brands have grown at all. Those guys are MyProtein, Discount Supplements, Nature's Best, PhD, and dolphinfitness.co.uk. If we look at some of the search trends from the market, I always find these pretty interesting as they give you a bit of an earwig into what consumers are doing across a time period, and they've been really interesting over this kind of lockdown COVID period of the last 2 years. As we've seen like massive fluctuations across 4 different markets that we analyse. Here we've got what I'd like to call the lockdown fitness complex that I think probably a lot of people have gone through. You can see right here when the pandemic first hit, the gyms closed and a lot of like the typical fitness heads have gone, I'll chill for 2 weeks. I was the same. I just sat on the sofa and kind of drank beer. Then I got to about 6 to 8 weeks in. I was kind of like, oh, it's still happening. Maybe I should start looking after myself, to becoming a bit of a slob here. I would guess at this point here, everyone's kind of gone, oh crap, I've not moved in 2 months. I really need to start looking after myself. And if we follow this blue line along here, we can see that compared to 2019, the kind of health conscious trend has stuck around. And this follows on the pink line here for 2021, way above normal search volume in the market. So perhaps lockdowns had a bit of a beneficial effect on some people's health, or at least how they're looking after themselves, which I thought was pretty interesting. If we look at the brand trends, we look at total Google search volume over a period of 3 months and compare it to the previous year. So what we track, the reason we take that figure is to try and account for any seasonality as best you can during COVID. And we'll look at particular brand searches. So for example, Huel, we can see over whenever this data was sourced, they've grown in terms of brand searches by 3%. And the same goes for a lot of other kind of direct to consumer brands. Guys like MyProtein, Huel, PhD, Optimum Nutrition, all big gains. And one thing I thought was quite interesting was bulk.com. That they were previously bulk powders, and over like last year they've changed to bulk, and that you can see that brand searches have gone massively through the roof. And then what we can see here is a lot of drops for the resellers of those brands. So guys like Holland & Barrett, who else would be it? Bodybuilding.com. I believe Dolphin Fitness is another reseller, also all seeing kind of like quite noticeable drops in their brand interest. And this is kind of reflected in our visibility winners table. So this is taking data from the visibility year-on-year table and taking the guys who've seen the greatest increase or decrease in total organic visibility, that metric from search metrics. Again, this is an indication of the guys making those money or seeing the biggest increase in traffic. It's biggest increase or decrease in overall rankings. Something that's quite interesting again about this is that 4 of the 5 big winners are all direct to consumer brands, and just one of them, Discount Supplements, is a reseller. I think there's a bit of an indication in the market that brands are realizing how much money you can actually make by selling directly to your customer rather than relying on a reseller. And this is kind of reflecting our biggest losses from the market. Again, only 1 out of the 5 biggest losers is a direct-to-consumer brand. The rest of them are resellers. So I think this is a bit of a commercial changing of the tides, as it were. And I think brands are realizing just how important ranking well is. Here are my top 4 predictions over the next 1 to 5 years. I think consumers are going to look increasingly more for choice brands and experiences. So they're going to look to buy from brands that give a good site experience and that they know are reliable. And resellers become more geared to become discount resellers as they try to carve out their niche in the market. And direct-to-consumer brands continue to invest in content and social, again, focusing down on that kind of brand experience. And again, I think a lot of strategies from both sides are going to shift toward brand engagement and meaningful connections. I think if resellers want to stay away from that kind of discounted brand, they're going to have to focus on that to avoid it. And that's my part for this webinar. I'm going to hand over to Lewis for the next.
Awesome, yeah, cheers, Jimmy. Yeah, so in this section, I am just going to sort of go through, I was going to spotlight a brand and talk about kind of that direct-to-consumer domination that's kind of been going on. As Jimmy's been mentioning before, a lot of the winners have been direct-to-consumer brands, so I'm kind of here to explore why that might be. What are they doing? Are there different strategies going on? Just to sort of reinstate, I suppose, my expertise in this. As you know, I've been here for 2 years, but I've been doing SEO for 5 years. Was building affiliate sites around the age of 19. So hopefully that sort of gives you a bit of faith in kind of trusting what I'm talking about here. But if we just dive straight into it, Jimmy, so you're moving forward there. So a big thing in the supplement and fitness industry as a whole is information and content. The amount of keywords and different volumes out there for like long-term informational searches is massive. I mean, I know when I was first getting started in fitness, I relied on Google like it was the Bible, constantly searching different stuff. And with the way Google's going with expertise, authority, trust, big site-wide quality evaluations, content, and really padding out your main categories is incredibly important, especially sort of this year and moving forward. And that's sort of been the case, what I've been noticing with direct-to-consumer brands. I know there is also bodybuilding.com, which is a reseller, and they're massive for content. But I've also been looking at how direct consumers have been using content to, as I say, pad out their categories and really bolster their entire site. It's also worth noting that one thing I did come across is the prevalence of, say, medical information, not really medical, but as we're dealing with fitness and supplements, it has got quite a rigorous scientific basis to it, especially when you consider supplements like creatine, which has been researched really heavily, whey protein. So there is a your money or your life aspect to it. For any of those who don't know what that is, it's based on a Google algorithm called EAT, which basically means any medical information needs to be very rigorous, very researched, very referenced. And yeah, I've already mentioned, that content and categories, making sure the content supports all of that is important as ever. And intent as well is important to note. So making sure that your categories have a good amount of content on them, supporting the intent. When someone sort of lands on a commercial page, they might want to also find out a little bit more about the product, a little bit more about the range. And we normally implement that with category copy. Anyway, moving on, the brand I want to focus on is PhD, because they've been absolutely flying. I mean, 118% in organic visibility, an increase in organic visibility, which is huge. And it's very noticeable. So I've got the screenshot here from Search Metrics, which Jimmy mentioned at the start is our main tool of use for this report. But I've also got a snapshot from the organic traffic from Ahrefs. Admittedly, it's third-party data, and it is an estimate. All these are estimates, but you can see there just from the increase in that graph, it's incredibly noticeable. Now, the majority of these gains came from content and informational keywords, as well as consideration as well. So when I say consideration, it's a different level of intent. So you'll have it in intent, which is commercial, consideration, which is sort of your best of articles. Someone's looking for a supplement, they don't know which one to get. Informational could be something along the lines of how to build bigger arms. It could be best lateral raise or lateral exercises for your lats. And there was a large amount of gains for PhD in that respect. Commercial was also impacted though. So you will see also like increases in commercial keywords, particularly around whey protein. So they're absolutely killing it. I'll dive into this a little bit more when Jimmy moves forward. So one of the biggest things I did notice by using the Wayback Machine was the navigational changes. So as you can see here, this is a screenshot from 2020. I did try to look at their blog, but Wayback Machine hadn't indexed any of that stuff for whatever reason. But as you can see from the Mega Nav, they actually got shop goals, perform smart zone, which is their blog. And it's very basic, but a big change they did do is completely restructure this, make it more siloed and more keyword targeted. As Jim, if you move forward to the next one, the new and improved PhD navigation, as you can see. So they've split up the navigation, exactly what we would kind of be doing if we notice something like that, into silos like protein, smart range, life range, vitamins and supplements, workout. This in itself provides better keyword targeting and has huge benefits for intent. So intent's a massive focus for us recently, just working out how people interact with the pages, what they're looking for when they come sort of from search, and when they land on your site, how do they find the products they need as quickly as possible. And by having this silo, you essentially allow people, I want protein, go to protein, instead of clicking on shop, which is very ambiguous, vague. We've been seeing Google likes to see that segmentation of intent and keyword targeting. We've sort of previously actioned something like this with a vape client of ours, an e-liquid client. We completely restructured the Mega Nav, adding categories for, if anyone here is familiar with that industry, flavors, e-liquid types and stuff like that. And that in itself caused a 20% organic visibility gain just from changing the mega nav, sorting out the hierarchy of each category. And that I did a recent look at the analytics the other day, which, I mean, if I'm a bit iffy of analytics, but it led to quite a high percentage increase in new sessions and revenue as well, around 50% increase in revenue just from getting those gains on those different categories that we implemented. So this stuff does have a massive effect, and PhD has been smashing it with this. Moving forward, Jimmy. As well as creating more categories and splitting out their mega nav, they've also been implementing something that we do quite often, which is category copy. Now, I spoke about intent and making sure that you're providing the customer with valuable information to help them buy a product, to facilitate a purchase, just to sort of educate them a bit more. Category copy is something that we do all the time, and it's something that PhD have been doing as well over the past year. So it is, the design's a little bit iffy, but I'm sure that could be something that could be rectified at a future date. It's not too important at the moment. The most important thing is to get the copy on there. But as you can see, on whey protein powder, they've got a nice sort of a section of content at the top, which drops down from a See More tab. And this has internal links to other relevant categories, helping people find what they need. And it also links up those pages, at least in the eyes of Google. So it's passing page rank to each of those pages and really tightening up that relevancy of that category, particularly as they've linked internally to sort of diet whey bundles and whey protein isolate. So it's keeping it within that whey protein targeting area, if that makes sense at all. But this is 100% had effect on the gains we've been seeing with these. Feel like moving forward, Jimmy, with that one. So gains. Let's look at the specifics of kind of what's been going on with their rankings. So I'll start with the informational stuff because it's what I first mentioned. So informational keywords like how to lower body fat percentage, they went from absolutely nothing to position 2, which is rare. And a lot of these are very spontaneous rankings. I've not seen anything like this in a while. So how to get bigger arms, position 81 to position 11, how to calculate BMR, no rank to position 4. And interesting one about the calculate BMR, that will probably be a very specific intent for a calculator. And you do notice that when you click on when you search those kind of queries, it has to be a very specific intent. And moreover, how this relates to revenue, they do have product links coming from this informational content. The shoppable content, in my opinion, could be reworked a little bit, but they do have links going through to products. So you need to track it, but there could be a link from this content to revenue. That's something I would need access to GA to see. Commercial improvements as well. Obviously, these are the money keywords, the ones that we all care about. We're not here to make blogs, we're here to make money. So commercial improvements, we see stuff like pre-workout, position 30 to position 8. Whey protein isolate, whey protein, we're going from positions 30, 46, all the way to the first page. And just to clarify, these are worth thousands of searches a month. They're very impressive stuff. And of course, they have crazy commercial intent as well. When people search whey protein isolate, whey protein, they're looking for, funnily enough, whey protein. So this is definitely good to see, and they've been knocking it out the park. Move forward if you want, Jimmy. So I do speak fast, so I'll do a little review to make sure you've got everything there. That PhD have been doing well. So adding fresh referenced content to the site, leading to brand new keyword rankings. Oh, actually, I think you missed a slide there, Jimmy, unless it's accidentally deleted. But I mean, I can talk about it anyway. Essentially, yeah. So it was meant to be a slide here of where it goes from no rank to position 1 for a lot of informational terms on like new blog posts. So they've recently published, I think it was the lower body fat percentage one that appeared in, I think, June the 17th and is already on the first page. So that shows to me that Google sees the whole site as something that's quality, because they do look at your whole site when it comes to considering quality scores, whether or not it's relevant, something they want to show their users. And a lot of this content is referenced, is one thing I wanted to note as well. So linking back to that your money or your life aspect of this content, a lot of it's referenced to sort of scientific journals, and it really sort of cuts through the noise in terms of authoritative content. So they have lots of fresh, new, that sort of content. They completely rebuilt the mega nav, as I just mentioned, targeted, siloed, and intent driven. And they added category copy as well with strong internal links. That all happened in a very quick space of time. So they've definitely been overhauling their strategy. Of course, there's always new stuff to improve, and we're always got a keen eye on the things that we would do. One thing we've been doing recently is separating blogs into guides and advice. It could be called a different name. It doesn't really matter. But as long as the two intents of content are separated, so guides being consideration, the content that's more related to the product. So stuff like, as I said, best off lists, how to choose type of content, how to choose the best supplement, how to what supplement works best with this kind of workout, like a push-pull legs, something like that. Then you have your advice, how to lose belly fat, how to get bigger arms, a bit more information, or it can be linked to consideration as well. But I would separate those two. Author profiles, I think I noticed with My Protein, another direct-to-consumer, their author profiles are really, really good. Stuff that really detailed, all written by sort of personal trainers, people with qualifications in different fields of fitness. So they could definitely work on that. And developing out the About Us page and signpost Trustpilot reviews better. So their About Us page is decent, but they have a 404 linking from their company history. And I think they could create a few USB banners demonstrating their reviews, because they are pretty decent as well. But that just about covers it. I do tend to ramble and speak fast, so feel free to ask me any questions about any of that. I can see if I can dive deeper for you, but hopefully that was of use. I think we got Liam next about content ecosystems.
I'm Liam. I'm the content strategist at Salience. Big part of my job is looking at kind of our client sites and working out how we can actually start utilizing content to achieve the kind of brand goals and the brand vision. I suppose what I'd want to say to start off with, what I'm going to talk through here is kind of how you can see really kind of quick wins with some quite basic kind of content tactics. So do stick around as I go through the next few slides, because hopefully there will be some kind of actionable things that you can take from this. So where Lewis has looked at a site within the industry that's performing well, what we thought we'd do is bring me in so that I can talk about a semi-similar industry that we actually have a client in. Industry in question is online pharmacies. And what we've seen is, and what we needed with the strategy, what was quite clear from the kind of CEOs and the guys who came on board with us, was it was about short-term kind of quick wins, medium-term, let's start seeing the kind of improvements that are needed, and then long-term, can we start challenging for the top of market? So really what I kind of look to do is treat content strategy as a holistic approach. Rather than looking siloed and looking at like, just, okay, here's a specific keyword, let's focus on that, let's focus on that page. The tactics I'm going to talk about now, we've analysed the keyword profile of the site in question, and we found trends within there. So if you jump to the next slide, Jimmy, what we kind of did was we downloaded the whole keyword profile for the site. So you can do that either through Search Console, or you could do it through kind of Ahrefs or another kind of third-party tool. And then what we did was we created our own kind of opportunity score, which merged kind of volume, rank, keyword difficulty, and then we also looked at the amount of internal links and the quality of the anchor text that pointed to those for every single keyword on the site, and what pages were ranking for them. What we did find from that is that we found a real high kind of opportunity within vitamin D and probiotics. So clearly quite a similar industry to you guys that are here today. What we did going from there was we looked at creating a content plan that considered kind of all of the stages of intent. So Lewis has clearly been talking about kind of category copy and guides and advice. These are all great things to go for, and this is 100% what we do kind of preach. But I think giving your kind of content and copywriters a real specific category focus. So, okay, we've got all these keywords where vitamin D and probiotics are really performing, but or maybe just about to perform. If we can look at intent, awareness, and consideration content for that specific area all at once, what you will start to see is real quick improvements. You will start to see what we like is kind of the product start to improve in the short term. Then you will start to see kind of guides starting to rank for long tail. And then the more longer term strategy is to start achieving kind of ranks, category ranks on terms like buying vitamin D online, probiotics online, etc., etc. What I've done over on the right there is just kind of summarize that roadmap, really kind of basic, but feel free to ask any questions or get on me on LinkedIn, which we'll share details with later about doing this. But it's not rocket science, and to be fair, SEO is not rocket science, and neither is content. It's just about knowing that you've got the right data behind you and that you've actually spotting the right areas to work on at the right time. So the roadmap literally did just consist of analyzing that whole site keyword profile, spotting those trends and identifying the opportunities. Obviously, part of this comes into yourselves. Where do you make the most revenue? Where are you seeing the biggest uptake in kind of return on investment? We then look to optimize all of those opportunity products in the short term. So we'll dig into those pages specifically and just see if we can add a little bit of content, add some descriptions about the products. We then start looking at doing what Lewis referenced earlier, which is creating category and subcategory content. And we'd add this to the bottom of the page, just underneath your kind of product listings. From here, we would then give a kind of dual link, another link out from the text, pointing through to the specific products that we've already optimized. That kind of just gives that one little extra signal, and quite often does give it that little boost that just tips that product from kind of page 2 onto page 1. Following on from that, we then look to create an editorial plan around kind of those guides and those advice pieces that Lewis was talking about there. And then finally, what we do is we would basically create like an internal linking audit, and we go through every single piece of content that we have created, and we would make sure that the specific opportunities that we want to focus on are being focused on. I suppose what a really good kind of takeaway from this is, if you can just have that list of 20 products in an area that you do want to focus on, if you just pass them over to your copywriters, you say, don't link to any other product but these, create a little tracking group, get the kind of keywords in that you want to see the improvements on. And it's just about kind of making sure that everybody's on the same page, really, and making sure that the website is also on the same page, and making sure that the products you're servicing, or the products that you have the opportunities with, are really being forced into the kind of the eyes of Google. If we jump to the next slide, what I can show is in practice. So I just chose a brand at random from the report, and Bodybuilding Warehouse. So what we looked at after downloading their full site keyword profile, what I noticed was the position 17 for the brand Redcon 1, which has like over 4,500 searches a month. Through also position 7 once you start getting into the kind of globe, the more local search, or the national search with the UK. So that adds another about kind of 1,800 searches. Looking further into their keyword profile, we noticed Total War pre-workout is in position 5 with 500 searches a month. Now, this is a product that is specifically relevant to Redcon 1. So what we'd say there is, right, okay, let's look at that brand page, Redcon 1. Let's get some kind of category content on. Let's maybe include a section about what are the most popular kind of Redcon 1 products. We talk a little bit about Total War pre-workout. We then link through. We'd then also be linking through to kind of guides and editorial that talk about the more wider sphere of content that would sit around these products and how you go about approaching like using that product. And in terms of what I've been talking about all the way through, that's a kind of really holistic way to straight away say, right, you know what, we can target the top term, we can target the products, and then what you'll probably see there once you start linking out from these quite well-established pages into newer editorial and guides, you'll also be passing that page authority on into the newer content that you're creating, and you should start drawing traffic in that way as well. So it is a really nice kind of simple, holistic way to go about your kind of content strategy, really. I would definitely say look at that as specifically as possible. Group those kind of keywords into clusters and think, do you know what, we'll just go ham at this for kind of 2 months. We'll do full editorial. We'll make sure we're really tight on this. What you'll notice from there is you'll then start getting the opportunity to link out to kind of further areas of content. Those guides and kind of awareness pieces, they will link out across your site, whatever the product, whatever the brand, and you can start almost like manipulating these results then. So you can get other brands into the Redcon 1 position. If we jump to the next slide, this just briefly shows the online pharmacy client that we have, who are, in terms of context, they're really product heavy. They're a pretty new site as well. They've only been around for a couple of years, well, less than a couple of years actually. What we did see, so this is over a month, and this is actually the last month. We've only really been applying this strategy recently. All the things we've been talking about, we did that. We found the opportunity keywords. We applied the category copy. We started kind of enhancing the guide content. And we linked back through the specific products that we really kind of wanted to push. And what we've seen from that is 18 product terms onto page 1 with a total monthly volume of around 20,000. We've seen improved rankings on the category and brand terms. So they're not flying on them at the moment. I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we're P1 for them. We're not. This is the medium to long term strategy. The short term was those products. We've seen revenue increase there. What we're starting to see now is the kind of green shoots within the category and brand terms. And then just in terms of like that top level view, bringing it back to what the report talks about. This has had an 11% increase in mobile visibility and 14% on desktop to the site as a whole. So while we are looking specifically just at one area of the site, and it's a massive site, so this was the vitamins area of that. There's a lot of other areas of the site, but you can see massive improvements for the site just by looking really granular and really detailed. That's kind of it from me. If we jump on to the next slide, bit of a kind of summary of what I've gone through. So considering content optimization and content strategy as a holistic exercise, just making sure that what you are doing is looking wider than just the page that you're on. Think about things as a whole. Ensure that your copywriters are knowing what are the optimum products to link to. What are you trying to push? What are you trying to boost? If you can get that front of center, that means everyone's singing from the same hymn sheet. Internal linking and anchor text is always hugely important. Make sure that you're kind of boosting, using internal links as kind of sensibly as possible, making sure that you're pushing to the right areas and using the right kind of anchor text. Generally, keyword rich is the best. And then going kind of working category by category. In terms of pushing this a little bit more, obviously using social and other channels as that kind of holistic approach is really kind of important. If you can start bringing your on-site strategy alongside your social, alongside even PPC, you'll start to really center the whole of the kind of internet towards the kind of areas that you want to be pushing to. Other kind of takeaways would be maximize the placement of those priority products across other areas of the site. If you can get kind of product bars for like most popular product to the top of category pages, that's great. If you can do that across kind of Instagram feeds, get shoppable in there, brilliant. And the same about just going into your kind of blog and advice sections and including that shoppable content, but always with the focus of, hey, here's those 20 products that we really want to see the improvements on. Hopefully that was quite useful. Maybe a lot to take in, or although maybe kind of hopefully just a clarification that you're going about things in the right way. But what I would say is that data that sits at the start of it is probably the key there. So if you can get someone on your team to start exploring that, I would say that's the kind of bedrock of any content success. And then yeah, my details are there if you want to get in touch or ask any questions at the end, which I'll pass you back to Jimmy. I think he's going to introduce that. Question coming from Nicole, who's for it's probably for you, this one, Jimmy. At the beginning, you showed a graph about search trends. What terms and keywords did that cover?
So something that's part of the report is there's a page that features high competition keywords. We'll usually use some of the highest search volume keywords from here. And the idea is that the real head terms for the industry, they're very short tail. So there'll be stuff like supplements, sports nutrition, supplement retailers, real big ones like this, or basic ones like protein powder. We'll take 5 or 6 of them and import them into Google Trends. We'll then take the data that's kicked back, collate it all into that one graph that you've got there.
I think as well, in terms of trying to pick up on any sort of more longer tail search terms or keywords, there is a part of the report that does look a little bit more specifically at those kind of at keywords from an opportunity point of view, isn't there? So
yeah, that's right. That's what we hope to do with those 2 tables. Is we have the high competition keywords, i.e. can't avoid these, or if you're ambitious, go for them. You can still win on them. It's definitely feasible. But those opportunity keywords are typically longer tail. And if you were to put a strategy that targets them, you're more likely to see wins and high rankings.
Nice.
I suppose on that as well, just to answer that a bit more specifically, we will share a link to the report with alongside the deck. I suppose I assume we have the kind of emails from this, and that will come. So you'll probably get a bit more insight from the specifics there.
Nice. Don't think we're having any more questions, Sue. So I think we'll call it there, guys.
Yep.
Fabulous. Thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Cheers all. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Bye-bye.